My spoiled cousin was arrested after taking my money, and now that she's out, she demands that I return what she took. My cousin lived with us since she was a child. Due to her parents passing away, my family took her in, but she always had a troublesome personality. Since she was little, she was expelled from daycares, received complaints at school, and couldn't finish high school because she basically didn't attend even 20% of the classes. My mother sent her to school every day, but she would hang out with older friends from another school and would skip without my mother knowing. However, despite all these things, it was always clear that my cousin was my parents' favorite. Even when she took my things to sell and buy sweets, my parents would simply say that I should tolerate it because she was my younger cousin and she doesn't have a mom and a dad and just being playful. They didn't complain when she got expelled, didn't complain when she was detained for various reasons, or for anything else. On the other hand, I was not allowed to have a cell phone, couldn't go out with friends, and my routine from ages 12 to 17 was basically going to and from school, in addition to working to pay the fines my cousin incurred. However, ever since I started working, I always saved the money left over after paying the fines in a bank account my uncle set up for me, every cent. My parents didn't allow me to spend my own money on myself to have more left for my cousin, so I always did it in secret. At 19, I had finally saved enough to make a down payment on an apartment and finally move out of my parents' house. When I announced this to them, they were confused about how I had so much money and said that if I had really saved it in secret, I should be ashamed and give it to my cousin. This obviously led to an argument, with me saying that I owed her nothing, and my parents saying they were giving me an order, and I had no choice. This was at night, so I told them it wasn't going to happen and that I would leave the next day. However, the next day, I realized that no one was there. I didn't care, it's not like I wanted to say goodbye to them, but when I checked my bank account, I saw what had happened. I'm a heavy sleeper, and someone used my fingerprint while I was asleep to withdraw my money. I called my parents in desperation, telling them what had happened, and they said they already knew, and that it was my cousin who had done it, and now they were having breakfast at a fancy place in the city since I had actually saved up a good amount of money. I didn't say anything, I couldn't react. I just hung up, grabbed my bike, and went straight to the police station, reporting everything. I already knew that it was one of my relatives who had done it, so I recorded the call, so they couldn't deny it. In court, my parents were able to post bail since they were considered only as accomplices, while my cousin was arrested. I managed to recover the money, moved out, and cut off contact with my family for the past few years. However, a few days ago in the morning, I received several messages from numbers I didn't recognize, but after responding to some, I figured out who they were. It was my family. They were saying that my cousin had been released from jail, and now that she was out, she was coming to my house for a conversation. I thought she might apologize or something, so I agreed and waited. When she arrived, she hugged me, asked how I was, and asked to come in, and of course, I let her. Now comes the worst part. She talked about how she had forgiven me for reporting her, that she no longer held any grudges, and that I shouldn't worry about it. I didn't understand why she thought I was worried about that, since she was the guilty one, not me. After that, she said she just hoped that I would return the money she had taken because, to get protection in prison, she had promised to give the money she had taken from me, roughly $50,000, to the people who protected her. I told her it wasn't possible because I had already spent that money on my apartment. At this point, she snapped. She said it wasn't fair, that she had worked hard to get that money, and that I should come up with it by the end of the month, or she would sell everything I have to recover it. My parents, of course, supported her and said that since she had already taken the money, it was hers. I've already called the police and reported everything in case something happens to me, but honestly, I don't know what to do.